Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to bring you greetings from the gems and jewelry industry in Sri Lanka. Have you ever wondered that there are more people living on earth than ever lived? Do we realize that there is far greater wealth in today's world than ever before? According to the Global Wealth Report published by Credit Suisse, the aggregate global wealth stood at $317 trillion as at end of 2018, 40% of which was contributed by women. Do we see the vast market potential here? Yet, if we speak to many of our senior members in the industry, often one comment we hear is that those were the days. So much so that many of their children have been attracted to take up careers in other industries. Just about a year ago, the Forbes magazine ran an article titled "The 5 Sectors the Millennials Are Likely to Kill Off." Among sectors like movie theaters, cable TV, breakfast cereals, diamonds and gemstones were also on the list. Ladies and gentlemen, the urgency is now than later for us to come together to understand the underlying issues and actually act on them in order to take the industry to the next level. I am delighted to present to you perspectives and propositions across 3 paradigms. How we can regain the relevancy of colored stones in the minds of today's generations. How we can reinforce the position of colored stones as a truly investable product. And how the Sri Lankan industry is gearing up to contribute to this proposed paradigm shift. Let's look at the international scale of our industry. These numbers were put together based on research publications of KPMG and McKinsey & Co. Starting from about $140 billion in 2005, we have added nearly $100 billion as an industry, including diamonds and jewelry, averaging 4 to 5% of annual growth. Bain & Company estimated that the luxury goods sales will reach $1.4 trillion by the turn of the decade. The luxury goods sales includes luxury watches, luxury cars, luxury yachts, and also ultra-luxury holidays. If we go back 60 to 70 years, quite likely that the jewelry took a fair share of the wallet of the consumer. Over the years, what has happened is that the far greater sophisticated campaigns of other sectors, they are far more sophisticated and far more resourced than us to grab share out of us. To understand the scale of colored gemstones, we collated data from various different sources. It looks like an $8 to $12 billion industry. According to the same Global Wealth Report, there was $14 trillion of wealth added to global economy during the 12 months of 2018 alone. Ladies and gentlemen, we must understand what is our scale in that context. Are we not getting smaller and smaller as an industry? What are the underlying issues? This is a model originally developed by KPMG to understand how the chain works, from the mine right up to the market. Who adds what value, which I have adapted to give emphasis to colored stones. We have the traditional artisanal mining, and there is a sizable institutional mining coming up now. Then the rough stone dealers. than those who added value through cutting and processing. Historically, if we go back 10 to 15 years in time, there was incremental value addition coming through improvements to cutting standards and heating technology. We know those technologies are at near maturity, which means the incremental value addition that can come from here is limited in scope. Then we have the manufacturers who will continue to add value, converting the products to end users. Then the all-important, the retailers, which includes the new channels, the online channels, and also the social media, who then take it to the end consumers. What we see right now, in the absence of meaningful marketing to uplift our positioning in the minds of the end users, those who are at the end of it, some of them are highly reputable brands, actually commit resources to those product lines which are better supported with marketing spend. So the pipeline is actually getting tightened. We see a lot of aggressive push from this end to that end. We see margins under pressure. We see people extending credit terms through 365 days. Just imagine, ladies and gentlemen, we invest here to get our position right in the minds of today's generation. These are some of the most reputed companies who stand very well to raise new capital. They can pull the entire pipeline if only we take the initiative as a collective. Let me pose 4 questions to you, particularly the dealers. I want you to think of answers and hold them in your mind. Who we buy from? What price we pay? I hope you're thinking through answers. Who we sell to? What price we sell at? I presume you got your answers in your mind. What if I now ask you to jot them down on a piece of paper and hand it over to the next table? Literally, you are handing over a good part of your business, right? Basically, what's been happening is we've been riding on disparities of information that is available in the market. This is an information era, and that is going to erode. That is not a defensible space. So all the more reason, we should be adding value propositions to the end user. What do they buy? We did a research project in London, focused on some of the top brand jewelers and also high net worth jewelry buyers. We have a view of what we sell. We sell royal blue, we sell pigeon blood, we sell highly clear, beautiful stone. Actually, what is the perspective from the side of the consumer? What is that they paid for? We wanted to understand that. Product attributes, yes, we also believe in that. That's the color, the clarity, the impression of the stone. What is the next layer? As a store of value, in our selling proposition, we keep saying, we keep beating the drum. It is of investment value. It is appreciating value over time. Yes, we believe in that, heart and soul. Does it hold true in the minds of the general public? Ask a consumer in one of the mature markets, whether it's US, Europe, or Japan, their experience of trying to realize the value that they paid for their ring. You think they'd realize the value? A lot of their experience is that they did not realize. Because we sell retail, we expected to come back and sell it back to the trade at wholesale or below. So how do we establish credibility here? That's the next year. Then what is extremely important, a lot of people touched on the importance of this, is the peer perceptions. In other words, the money they pay for, how far it helps them, the perception of them amongst their social circles. It's extremely important for youngsters of today, how they are viewed in their social circles. Are we supporting that as a product? People like the idea of buying something from Tiffany's because it communicates something to their social circles. Who are we trying to sell today? Today's generations. Let me give you an idea of different generations. Those who are born between mid-40s and mid-60s are known as baby boomers. Those who are born between mid-60s and late 70s are known as the Generation X. Think of your businesses and your clientele. Most of we sell to are probably in those two generations. That's thanks to the intrinsic beauty of the product and some of the hard work done by our fathers and forefathers in the industry. We are still trying to ride on that. And how are the new generations behaving? Generation Y is actually people born between early 80s and mid 90s. They are also known as the millennials. Generation Z are people born after mid 90s. So let's look at some of the companies that do extremely well. Most of them started just a few decades ago, and they are turning trillions and trillions of dollars together because they identified and understand this customer, and they occupy their life space. They occupy their life space. So how do we build relevancy across these generations? Otherwise, we are going to be lost out as a category. 55% of luxury goods spent by 2025 is going to be controlled by them, Y and Z. Those who are born after mid-90s and those who are born after the early 80s. Do we have a strategy to position into this? Otherwise, are we going to get smaller, and eventually become an irrelevant industry to the young generations? The moment is now for us to come together. So how do we rebuild value to that value proposition? It is not, gentlemen, as far as the end user is concerned, it is not just pigeon blood, royal blue, or clarity. It is what it means to them. The value for the money they are paying for, are they getting full value? How do we reinforce credibility along that line? There was the product attributes. How do we strengthen the credibility around there? I know quite a lot of us have become lifetime friends talking harmonization. A lot of interesting comments were made about harmonization in the morning. Our immediate past president, Mr. BJ, emphasized it quite well, the importance of harmonization. I'm not trying to get into language on harmonization, but open up a new perspective on how we can come together using new technology. As a store of value, how do we reinforce that position? We are still pushing the chain, pushing the pipeline, and eventually expecting the end consumer to buy at retail prices, and when they need to realize the money, expect them to come back and sell it wholesale price or less. How far it's going to be sustainable? It's not going to be a circular process at all. So we badly need a robust strategy for promotions. There were some fantastic ideas discussed this morning. We had our past presidents discuss about the possibility of a global jewelry competition countrywide. Let's imagine we do it led by respective association in each country. And every competition is given massive media blast through online, offline, as well as social media platforms, which eventually collated as an international event. So we give further prominence for colored stones. I know it requires, the worldwide campaign requires much greater budgets than we can envisage. However, this is something feasible, making use of new technology and social media platforms. And eventually regain the share of wallet that this industry used to occupy nearly 60 to 70 years ago. So how do we bring together our labs making use of new technology? I know a lot of people are prejudiced with a lot of ideas when it comes to harmonization and bringing the labs together. Look at this with an open mind. Let's say we bring in a wider pool of accredited labs. In other words, just about 18 to 20 labs worldwide. We bring them together. Use that as a pool to create momentum for others to follow. At least those who talk the same language, if there is 8 to 10 at least comes together, others will follow. So we would add comments that are standardized. Today it's a matter of diction, terminology. You Google for a word, you get it. However, in our trade, we still struggle to see the difference between sky blue and royal blue. And people are talking about this for nearly 30, 35 years, as some commented in the morning. We need to come together. The end consumer is less loyal than ever. They are not going to bear with this. They'd rather shift to other product categories. We need to come together. It's a matter of survival. That if we say royal blue, and it is royal blue everywhere. So it's a matter of confidence. People part with a lot of money buying from someone who's got far greater knowledge of that product than the person who's buying, as far as the end consumer is concerned. So all the more reason we have to do those building blocks that builds trust. And I also propose, I know in color stone it's extremely difficult to bring in grading around clarity. At least we can bring in some language to define the clarity. We can put in some standard language to define what is the inclusion. We can bring about some language to define the location of the inclusion and also the extent of the inclusion. So agree on the language and standardize the language so that it can be online driven. What we're proposing is, someone spoke of blockchain and AI yesterday. They all can be used to work as one self-feeding database. Eventually, whichever lab feeds the data becomes a server or a contributor to the whole system. So general public, be it trade or otherwise, they can directly query the database and get access to certified data, which is standard, and also high-quality images and videos. Today's labs possess the capability to make high-quality images. They can be standardized to certain angles so that everyone speaks the same language, and which also can lead to a revenue model. These, you can link this to a code to the certificate, which can then be allowed to be downloaded for a nominal charge. So it feeds in a revenue model. And this eventually is going to be a portal which will be visited by high-quality consumers from all over the world, which in itself will generate enormous ad revenues. So there is all the more reason for the labs to come together and benefit revenue-wise and also serve the trade. The technology provider that I've highlighted here will give a lot of momentum. Let's say we get Google or Amazon or Yahoo to come on board and put this together. That gives enormous boost. So what happens is, imagine eventually someone Googles for Royal Blue 3 point whatever, and everything comes up. The certified data, the videos, images. How nice. It's doable. It's very, very doable technology-wise. It's a matter of having the will and the resource to push it together. So how do we become a provider of truly investable products? We have been buying and selling colored stones for hundreds and hundreds of years. Where are all these gemstones? Only a small proportion comes back to the market through auctions or whatever. Where are the others? The general public are actually holding far more stocks than the trade. Today's generations are highly wary about exploitation and environmental damage. They're not going to let us go and dig everywhere that we like. The sustainability of the trade is dependent on getting our stocks to recirculate, which means those who eventually buy and hold the stocks should have confidence that they'll be able to realize reasonable value for their products. The same way the real estate market would behave. People have confidence investing in real estate because they know whatever the market trade at that day, they'll be able to realize that. There is an exit channel, but there is no exit channel for the general public. All the touch points talk about wholesale or below the prices. So would it have confidence for them to come and part with their goods in the trade? This is a project that is ongoing. I'll give you some insights so that it provokes debate and thought. Think of a mobile app. Think of a mobile app which takes on images and videos of the gemstone in a standardized manner. So the system won't accept unless the image is certain standard. Today's cameras can allow high quality images up to certain depth, which the technology will make use of to capture that. So everyone feeds at certain images of certain standard. Upload standard data regarding the gemstone. That is the color, clarity, and other details. Also upload certifications. One of the things when people come to sell, let's say online, their gemstones or particularly of higher value, is the trust factor. Can we trust the person? What the system will do is all what they upload, they will validate against that previous database. So you have the first level of confidence that it is the stone. Then what it does, let's say you want a subsequent verification, second level of confidence to build up. You have the option to call up one from the accredited pool of labs to recertify the stone, which means before you dispatch, you know that it is the stone. So second level of confidence for the general public. Eventually, the path is get to be able to buy and sell high value gemstones for anyone and everyone in the world. So you're opening up a completely new secondary platform. So enabling the recirculation of the whole entire stocks of gemstones worldwide. So it brings about sustainability. It reinforces the position of colored stones as a truly investable product. Same on par with fine arts or real estate. That should be a selling point as well. So eventually you are facilitating a peer-to-peer market once the payment gateways are enabled as well. The idea of this is to provoke further thought and debate, but it's an ongoing project. How the Sri Lanka industry wants to contribute as a long-standing partner in the supply chain of sapphires. We are at the Sri Lanka Gem and Jewelry Association are taking quite a lot of measures to ensure smooth supply of sapphires to the trade. Sri Lanka is gifted with so much of gemstones, sapphire-bearing lands. What we want to do is actually encourage sustainable mining of lands. Thanks to initiatives taken by the Sri Lanka Gem and Jewelry Association and the Ratnapura Association, the gem mining licenses are issued only on taking deposits adequate to restore that land back to its original form. So we have sustainability right at the heart of it. So that is the drive we want to make sure that we want to be a partner in the supply chain of sapphires, but a meaningful partner, someone who is conscious of today's aspirations. This is Mr. Upali Vijayakon. He's a veteran miner in Ratnapura, someone who can tell or know whether it's going to be sapphire bearing or not. He related a very interesting story to me about a 20 carat plus A-grade sapphire that was found there recently. He explained to me how nearly 40 to 50% of the sales proceeds was actually shared amongst him and his co-workers. This is at the very heart of our artisanal mining principles. For hundreds and hundreds of years, the Sri Lankan trade takes pride in the fact that the trade has been looking after the thousands and thousands of families and also their livelihoods. We know there is a debate about institutional mining, large-scale mining, and also artisanal mining. With proven facts tried and tested over time, we have made a conscious decision. This is the model that will pave greater value to the livelihoods of people. What are the initiatives that we are taking as an association? to become the supplier of choice for the gemstones trade. In other words, we want to constantly learn from our customers in other countries and improve our processing and cutting standards. We will continue to strive to do that. Sustainably and responsibly open up more mining areas. Easing of regulations and export procedures to enable much speedier response to global inquiries. Today is an era of on-demand supplies. People, whenever they have an inquiry in New York, Paris, or Bangkok, they want to be able to get the stone next day. Unfortunately, due to some regulatory obstacles, we take quite a bit of time to ship an item, which we are working on. Then quite importantly, we want to collaborate on promotional activities. We think this has to be a collective initiative. Everyone understands the urgency and significance of a category-wise promotional strategy. However, people are wary of the restriction of available resources, which is something we can get together and work on. We'd like to make a proposition to the international community as to how we can come together and make this a sustainable framework to be able to promote gemstones, colored gemstones, worldwide in a more meaningful manner. Let's think of ICA as the coordinating body on this. We pulled together top 20 dealers of colored gemstones from each relevant country. They are extremely important in terms of financial backing and also expertise to sustain this. Eventually, when the market takes off, they will be the first to benefit because they are highly organized and well-managed businesses. When they take the lead, rest of the chain will benefit as well. Talent from other luxury goods sectors must be brought in because they are way ahead in terms of sophistication. Take the luxury handbags, luxury watches. They are way ahead. There are quite a lot we can learn from them. Other partner organizations also must be brought together because it has to be a collective effort to be effective. So we create the World Promotions Group, which will bring about coordinate and sustain campaigns. We need to start on this at some point. Otherwise, we keep talking for decades and decades. Come 20 years' time, we may become an industry of the past. We know things are getting smaller and smaller for our industry. It's tighter and tighter. If demand was robust, the margin shouldn't be under so much pressure. We shouldn't have to push so much, so hard, with such credit terms as it happens right now. It's the offtake at the end we need to work on. However, we need to do it in a cost-effective manner. So we bring together the other platform which I spoke about, that is bringing together labs. Eventually what you do is you are reinforcing the credibility of the product in the minds of the end consumer and also the public. You are delivering what you are saying you are delivering. And also you are holding up the value proposition of the product. So basically, we can come together and work together to take the industry to the next level. The challenge is up to us, ladies and gentlemen. Our fathers and forefathers did a fantastic job, and we are just harvesting that. It is up to us. As much as we'd like to give a strong business to our children, that we look at our industry as our parents. The stronger industry, the better for us. It is up to us to come together and work on an action program to strengthen the industry so that we hand over an industry to our children which is stronger than what we inherited. So this is the lighter side of the industry. What I'm trying to stress is that the worldwide consumers will strive and endeavor for colors. The challenge is up to us to fit into those aspirations and continue to be able to do so. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen.